Season 2, Episode 5 of The Last of Us was wow. Before I dive into this episode, as usual, there will be spoilers for The Last of Us video games and the series. But let's just get right into it because I have quite a bit to talk about. Episode 5 starts off with the WLF. We see, what's her name? Hanrahan? Yeah, we see Hanrahan. Her and the other members of the WLF are at a hospital. Hanrahan goes into a room to talk to, I think her name was Elise, another member of the WLF. And they're both freaked the hell out. To summarize the situation, Elise was put in charge by Hanrahan to search this hospital and clear out any infected. But Hanrahan is talking to Elise right now because Elise got everyone she was in charge of killed. And that includes her own son, Leon. So why? Well, we're getting spores back. In the game, characters have constantly had to worry about getting infected by airborne spores, but that has completely been absent in the show until now. So Elise explains to Hanrahan that she sent people down throughout the building, but when they got to the basement levels, they radioed back that it was covered in cordyceps.
5 minutes later, he radios again. This time he was struggling to breathe. I said, Leon, where you been? He said it's in the air.
To be totally honest, I actually really like this scene. It's super well acted and you can see how afraid they are. Elise then tells Hanrahan that her son said, "You need to lock us in." So she did. And that, of course, sucks. And it presents a massive problem because in the series, no one's encountered spores before. They don't have masks to deal with them. And these people, the WLF, are in the very building where this problem is happening. Watching this scene, I was honestly happy that they were introducing spores again, and it was very clear that this was foreshadowing what was going to happen later on in the episode. Alright, let's get into the big chunk of this episode. Seattle, Day 2. Ellie and Dina are in a theater, and Dina is doing some calculations to figure out where they need to go. I said it in my last video, but they are still way too happy with their situation. And I need to point this out, but Ellie seems really, really immature here.
Figured out yet?
Getting there.
You'll find a safe way to get us to the hospital, though, right?
Like, why is Ellie putting so much responsibility and work on Dina right now? It kind of gives me that vibe that she's like having her mom or older sibling call the doctor for her. Ellie and Dina were not like this in the game. They were mature enough to work together on things. Ellie is not supposed to be a little baby. She's not stupid.
I'm gonna leave you alone now and go and explore the rest of this place because you're smart as fuck and you're figuring it out.
She looks so annoyed.
Natural gas, baby.
Now, Ellie is supposed to be goofy, but she's not stupid. Well, at least not stupid in the sense that she's totally obtuse. She is a young adult who makes stupid mistakes all the time. But anyway, after this, Ellie goes exploring. She enters the theater part of the theater, and she gets on stage to play a little guitar. Now, when Ellie started to sing here, and it was the exact same lyrics from a song that Joel sung to her.
If I ever were to lose you.
If I ever were to lose you.
I thought we were going to see that flashback, but we didn't. I think this would have been a really good point to put that in there, and it probably would have made me cry, so then I would have been more engaged in the show. But that didn't happen. After this, Dina and Ellie meet back up, and they talk about plans. From listening to radio chatter, Dina figured out where the patrol spots are. Dina tells Ellie that there's this massive long building that no one is going into, not the Seraphites, aka the Scars, or the WLF. So the plan is to go into the probably very dangerous building that everyone is avoiding to get past danger, to go through danger to get away from danger. And even though Ellie is smart here and says that there's probably infected, they decide to go through the massive long building that's probably massively dangerous. How can you be this stupid? Seriously, how can you be this? So one thing that I did like that Dina mentioned was the comparison of the Scars to Amish people. Because honestly, as someone who did play the games, I don't know if people who are only watching the show realize how cut off they are. And Dina brings this comparison up to explain to Ellie that it's probably why the WLF is not afraid to be on radios all the time. Because the Scars don't have any. Now, I have to say it, as someone who lives near Amish people and has talked to and knows Amish people, some of them do use certain types of technology, as long as they just don't own it. There's different rules by community, but it's not a big deal. It's a good comparison. So now Ellie and Dina are making their way to that long-ass building. And again, this was something that wasn't really in the game. This is a change that doesn't make sense. Dina was not supposed to go out with Ellie. Once they found out that she was pregnant, she stayed put. I really don't know how they're this stupid. It seems very clear to me that the show decided to make this change so that you feel more anxiety and you wonder, is Dina gonna be safe? Especially since they've reintroduced spores, you know that Ellie's gonna be fine, but Dina wouldn't be. So people who aren't familiar with the game would be like, oh my god, poor Dina, what's gonna happen? It's a, little trick to keep people watching. Now, after Dina throws up, Ellie questions if she should have brought Dina along at all. And instead of talking about that thoroughly, Dina brings up the first person she killed.
And I ran back with my gun out, but I was too slow because I was fucking 8. And when he heard me, he turned around and he looked really startled. And when I shot him, he looked more startled.
I'm so startled.
This is weird. In my previous video, I talked about how I wish they included the part where they went to the synagogue so we could get to hear more about Dina's sister. The reason why I really like that scene from the game, and others like it when you are exploring Seattle, is because it shows us characters in a positive light. We get to learn about Dina's past, and sometimes Joel and Ellie, and it's just the most mundane, normal things.
Wasn't Joel all about coffee? Kidding me? He'd trade half his stuff for a bag of beans. I never got it. Tastes like burnt shit. Thank you. Acquired taste, my ass.
It reminds the player that, yes, this is a fictional story, but it's set in your world, and you can relate to it. It also helps us see Ellie and Dina, specifically, bonding over something that isn't just trauma that they're sharing, which, again, makes their characters feel more real. In this scene, Dina does bring up her sister and her mom, except it's a very negative and sad story about how they died. Now, yes, in the game, Dina does tell Ellie that the first person she killed was someone she stabbed to save her mom. This conversation took place right before they got to Seattle, and it's very calm. And it's calm because they trust each other. And the harsh reality of the world that they live in is that they've all gone through some really tough shit.
Guy was coming at my mom. I stabbed him. Shit. He got me beat. Yeah, I'm a real badass.
Then Dina goes on to say that if anyone killed her loved ones, she would hunt them down without mercy. And unknowingly to her, she is saying that Abby is justified in wanting to kill Joel. But I'm not sure why she's talking about this. It's kind of weird. And she's very angry and emotional while she's talking about this. But the anger seems directed towards Ellie.
Make a difference if my family had hurt his people first? No. No.
They're adding in unrealistic conversations that don't flow and drama just to keep people watching, but for me personally, it makes me cringe. At the end of this conversation, Dina literally asks Ellie, do you want me to go back and stay at the theater, or do you want me to continue? Now, of course, any rational person would be like, hey, why don't you go back and I'll do this and I'll come and get you when I'm done or whatever. So that's exactly what... No, I'm lying. They don't do that. Ellie says, let's continue. So to recap this situation and the decision that they just made, Ellie thinks it's fine for Dina, who they just found out is pregnant and is very ill, to go on with her into a very dangerous, massively long building that everyone that they're trying to avoid is also avoiding. What could possibly go wrong? So Ellie and Dina sneak their way into the building that they totally shouldn't be going into right now. We get a bit of cringe dialogue. There's a part where Dina mentions that she loves Ellie, and Ellie is really shocked by it and happy, but it's I feel like in the game they already knew that and they didn't have to say it, and in a life or death situation they wouldn't really be dwelling on that right now. They're also acting very careless about their surroundings.
How's it look? Haunted but empty. Huh. Just like us.
What does that even mean? And I feel like yet again Dina is treating Ellie like she's a child. She has to talk to her in a way that she understands. Yes, Ellie, do you understand the plan? This is the plan, Ellie.
So tell me again, what's the plan?
So yeah, this was a bad idea. They encounter a bunch of stalkers, and I will say they did seem pretty cool. It was an entertaining scene to watch. Dina has to be put in a cage for her safety while Ellie fights them off. And this is why Dina shouldn't have gone. Then Jesse shows up, finally, oh my god, thank goodness. I was so relieved when Jesse showed back up. I was like, finally, some common sense. So together they run away and they have to cut through a park, which is where the Seraphites are. And once again, I'm back to feeling like Jesse is babysitting a bunch of kids. If he didn't show up, they would be screwed, and in the game, that was not the case. In the game, when you go through that park where the Seraphites are, you're alone. You play Ellie, and you mostly have to hide if you want to, but you have to make your way around them, and they think you're a part of the WLF, so they're trying to hunt you down. So Dina then gets shot in the leg by an arrow, and Jesse has to carry her back to the theater. Ellie says that she will distract them and run the other direction while they make their escape. Again, this is why Dina, who was pregnant and ill, shouldn't have gone out with you, Ellie.
You won't get away, Wolf. She sees you. She watches over us all.
This guy loves his job. So Ellie escapes the Seraphites and she sees a sign for Lake Hill Hospital, where they all conveniently know because of the radios that's where Nora is located, and Nora is a part of Abby's group. So Ellie makes her way into the hospital and she tracks down Nora and she confronts her. This is pretty similar to the game. They end up in the basement where the spores are located, and so Nora starts to get infected. I have to say the set design for this basement is amazing. It looks really, really cool, and I don't have any issues with it. It's just crazy that we could have had stuff like this the entire time, and they only decided to implement spores and the effects of that now. Oh, there's Leon. Ellie then basically tortures her for information. But I will say, Nora mentions that Abby killed Joel because Joel killed Abby's father. Ellie says, I know. Was that in the game? Did she know about that already? Because then if Dina was bringing up that she would kill anyone who would kill her family, and they seem to both understand that, then shouldn't they understand why Abby did it? I don't know.
Don't you know what he did? I don't care. You don't care. He killed everyone in that hospital, including the only fucking person alive that could make a cure for me. That was Abby's father. Joel shot him in the head. I know.
Also, I have to mention that when I was watching this scene with my mom just said, she looks like a little kid there. So generally the scene isn't terrible, it's entertaining to watch, but it felt more intense in the game. I'm not really sure why it doesn't here. Actually, I think I do. In the game, when Ellie is torturing and hurting Nora, you see anger, like so much anger in her face, but you also see so much pain. But you see pain for the fact that she has to torture Nora for information. She's not enjoying what she's doing, but she knows she has to do it if she wants to continue this journey. In this series, though, Ellie kind of just looks like a stereotypical, I'm the bad guy, I'm the scary villain. Like, she's trying to make herself look scary and mean, but that's it. Oh, I feel like the director gave Bella Ramsey the wrong direction for this scene. Because yeah, if you're gonna have to torture someone, and you've never done that before, and they're probably close to your age too, and you're only 19, and I mean, this is an awful way to go. This is a hard thing to do. Even if you hate the person so much, I highly doubt the only emotion you're feeling is anger. And I just feel like the game showed a more realistic view on that.
Where's Abby? I'm fucking dead anyway. Why would I tell you anything?
Because I can make it quick. Or I can make it so much worse.
Think about what he did. How many people are dead because of him?
Last chance.
I'm not giving up, my friend.
after this, we get a very short sneak peek, and it's a scene of Joel opening the door to Ellie in her bedroom. It's a flashback. And then the episode ends. So I'd have to assume the next episode is just all flashbacks of Joel, and that's a mistake. I imagine they can't possibly screw up those scenes, but they really should have put them throughout the entire season. The pacing here is just awful. They introduce Isaac, and yet we've only had 2 scenes of him. And then they introduce Hanrahan, and yet we barely see her either. They take out scenes that are very important to characters bonding, and then the ones that we did want to see from the game that they do include, they completely rush through. And they're adding in like CW levels of dialogue here. Are they really going to end this season with Abby showing up and shooting Jesse? Are we really not seeing any Abby until the last episode? Or at all? Is the next season just going to be Abby's perspective? It doesn't make sense. We should have been going back and forth between the two this entire time. Also, where's Tommy? We haven't seen any of the stuff he's been doing. In the game, they saw quite a bit what he left behind. He tortured people, and that's how Ellie figured out she needs to do that too. Also, in the game, Shimmer dies. We see that happen. It sucks. I hate it. But in the series, the horse is just gone. Where's Shimmer? Did they just leave Shimmer behind? I also noticed that the descriptions of each episode, and sometimes the titles hint at the Seraphites or the WLF or other characters being a bigger part of the episode, and yet we don't get to see them that much. So far, because changes were made to the show, in this journey, Ellie and Dina have gone into a radio tower, they found no information, they found danger, so they left. And then they went into a really long building, they found danger, and then they left. There's been no progress, and they've just conveniently had the information that they've needed to continue. It feels rushed in a way. And then yet, like I've said before, they dwell on things that you really don't need to. I didn't really think I'd say this, but like, I kind of miss Abby. I want to see more Abby. I really thought we'd see some flashbacks of her, and they're smushing things together. Why is this season only 7 episodes? Why can't you just make one long season and go back and forth between the characters, make the pacing a little better from the game, instead of like making it this bad? Like, it's somehow worse. It's terrible. And think about it, that episode where they introduce Isaac with he was only in 2 scenes. If you take those out, I feel like the episode would have been pretty boring. It seems pretty obvious to me that the series is sprinkling bits of things here and there that we do like, but it's kind of like getting us excited for the next season because they haven't really done anything with those scenes. You know, like if you introduce a new antagonist, I'm expecting to see that antagonist in this season. Really shouldn't have to spend an entire season showing us new things to get excited for the next one. Let us get excited about what we're watching now. But with that, I'm going to end this video here. I do think at least next week's episode is going to be entertaining to watch. If it really is all flashbacks of Joel, I mean, how can they mess that up, right? So what did you guys think? I at least think that if you don't know the game, the show is getting a bit more entertaining to watch now. I don't know. The passion for this franchise just seems lost in the series. And I don't know. It's disappointing. It's nothing on the actors, honestly. They're all great actors. They're all great people. I've seen a lot of videos of them, and they're very sweet. It's sad. It's sad to see great people work on something that should be fantastic, and yet the directors to completely butcher it. Anyway, I'm rambling. So thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it, and it's really cool to talk with you guys in the comments. So please let me know what you thought, and what are your expectations for the rest of the episodes and next season? Because for me, it's not looking good.
Okay, we need to lighten the mood. Ready? It doesn't matter how much you push the envelope, it'll still be stationary.
What is that?
It's a joke book. No pun intended. Volume 2 by Will Livingston.
Let's keep going.
What did the Confederate soldiers use to eat off of? Civilware. What did they used to drink with? Cups. Dixie cups. I walked into my sister's room and tripped on a bra. It was a booby trap. A book just fell on my head. I only have myself to blame. Or wait, I said it wrong. Hold on, let me read it again. A book just fell on my head. I only have my shelf to blame. I ruined it. What is the leading cause of divorce in long-term marriages? A stalemate.
That's awful.
You're awful.
Do you even understand what that means?
Nope. Doesn't matter.